Okay, I like to wait a few seconds to make sure this is going live. It looks like we've got at least one person here. That's all I need to know that it's okay to go ahead and get started. Uh, of course, I've been watching events as many of you have, and frankly, I'm not surprised at the polarization that is going on in the world uh, amongst everyone. Hardly anybody is taking an honest, truthful, charitable approach to everything that's happening. I've talked for a long time about how even our governments are at odds with their people. And I mean, this is almost across the board, at least in the Western world, the so called Western democracies, including, I throw into there, of course, New Zealand, Australia, Western Europe, of course, and the United States and Canada. And there are some others, but you get the idea. There are agendas at work here that actually nobody is going to be the winner except those who are pulling the strings and running the puppets, their puppets. If you saw Biden the other night, supposedly it's Biden. Frankly, I don't know if that's even him. These different videos, I swear there's a difference in each one of these characters that comes out saying they're Biden. I'm not so certain anymore. And body doubles are not something that I fall for too often, but I'm beginning to wonder about what's going on here now. Regardless, whoever they're putting out in front of the people here in the United States, it's sending a message that you're done, America. You're done. You're demented. You're decadent. You're going down. That's the message and that's been a message for some time, but particularly now. And I'm not a Trump fan, you know this, but when they started to try to use the 25th Amendment on Trump, and then they're not using it on Biden, do you realize? And I mean, there are some people that are calling for this kind of thing, but it's not really. There's some really evil stuff going on. I don't want this to be necessarily a scriptural study, but I have to bring some things up because, as you know, I've gone and approached both Jews and Christians and Muslims, for that matter, trying to get them to take off of their biases, their prejudices, even their stupidity, and to try to start using some decent reasoning and spirituality. And not too many are willing to do that because these things that are going on right now have been placed in the blood of so many people that they can't get rid of their hate, of their false reasoning. And I'm surprised by the people that I see pushing for retribution, revenge, war in general. It's very, very troubling. Now, I'm wearing a Harley Davidson shirt today and a hat from Sturgis back in 2003. I actually went in 2004. And you think, I'd be wearing something a little different when I talk about these things, but I want you to know that, pretty much I've got my feet on the ground. I'm not floating around in the sky all the time, looking forward to the mist, or missing out on the blessings that this existence here offers us. And yet so many of us are just shitting it away in so many ways. People could say, well, Roy, you did that. Well, all I'll say is I've got 11 kids and 18 grandkids, and it looks like I'm going to have 4 great grandkids here pretty soon. So, despite the difficulties and the attacks against me personally and against my family, my blessings have been pretty amazing, no matter how you view it. Putting that aside, truth has abandoned most of mankind at this point, at least the ones that we see presented to us in the mainstream media and even in the alternative media. It's getting very, very concerning. Calls for, like I said, this war to expand and to do away with entire groups of people. I got one message this morning on Twitter that I thought this particular person had some brains and some heart, and now I'm beginning to wonder if I miscalculated in what he presented himself to be. And that's been the case with a lot of folks. They're jumping on the bandwagon of one side or the other, and it's just wrong. There should be, as I said the other day, I called out the Jewish rabbis, the Jewish people, Christian ministers, a lot of people, and said, hey, you need to start preaching the right stuff, saying the right stuff, and stop promoting this this war that's coming, that's already here. And like I said, our governments are, it's amazing to me. I'm just going to bring this up real quick because it came up this morning. Uh, Israel just, I thought they always had private citizen weapons, and apparently that changed a few years ago. I was unaware of that. But now with this threat, foreign threat, they say, right, they're arming all their citizens. And yet Biden and his group are trying to take weapons away from you as they invite what's going to turn out to be your enemies coming across the borders in different places. I'm not saying everybody that's coming here that they've let in are bad, but absolutely there are terrorists and criminals in that group, and yet the Biden administration wants to take weapons away from you. Well, the reason why the Israel, if they had the weapons to the citizens before and took them away, is because they were afraid that their people might overthrow them. And that's the only reason, plus they want you to be victims, that they want to take them away from you here. So all these things are starting to really come up. And as I told you, they're coming after your daughters for this draft if they do it. I don't know that they can get the draft in with the way the American people are now, especially with the differences in the population. But they'd like to take your daughters. They want to sacrifice them too. We can't fill our army quotas. Well, no joke. The way the army and the military in general has changed and what they promote, and I'm not going to get into that. You know what I'm talking about. The people that were willing to defend this country don't want to anymore, and they're using their right to choose to walk away, to refuse to serve. In other words, it's a form of voting. Conscription is force. Drafting is force. And it's one of the ways, whether you choose to serve or not, that's how you vote as a people, not just through Congress, whether they want to pass these stupid UAWs or whatever, the authorization for military force. I guess I said that wrong. AMFs, authorizations for military force, or declaring war or whatever. They don't speak for you anymore. And they want to sacrifice your sons and daughters, your mothers, your fathers, your brothers, your sisters for their agenda, not for your protection. So you need to separate yourself, and you need to refuse. And refusing to go when they call you to the military is a way for you to vote against what they're promoting. And it's legitimate. I don't care what they say. Their laws are destitute of morality and legitimacy. So what I'm telling you is, sorry about the way the screen keeps changing. It's because when I move my face, it goes dark. I'm outside, as you can tell. I wanted to have a little different spot here, and I can't stay on here long. My battery will go dead before long. So I'm here to say we need not to fall into the trap of choosing a side here. You'll notice I'm coming after both Hamas and after the Israelis, both. And the Americans, for that matter, right? I don't have a dog in this fight other than the truth, and the truth is nowhere to be found on either side. The time to have defended Israel against an attack like that was when it happened, not after the fact. I still maintain, as many people are coming to a conclusion now, that Netanyahu and the senior military and bureaucratic political leadership of Israel wanted this to happen so that they could justify taking out these people in Gaza so that they could take over. And I covered that last night or the night before and several other times. People will want to resist that, but the fact of the matter is all the evidence is there. And I've brought that up now over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm not going to rehash it. Go back and look at my other videos to see how I came to these conclusions. And many people are finally coming across that now. So they're pushing what I call, they're forcing prophecy. And I have a lot of disrespect for people that take this thing right here and use it to foment this type of discord. So you need to continue to step away. You can have your opinions, But I'm going to ask you, don't get involved in this thing. Don't let your loved ones get involved. I'm not saying you can't demonstrate and things like that, but even that at this point, somebody's going to use your discouragement, your voicing of your displeasure against you at some point. It's happened to me. So if you're going to do it, just make sure you stay in a neutral zone, which is the right place to be. And I'm going to read you something here. I know it's scripture, but I'm going to read it anyway because it's what I brought out the other day, and now I'm taking it a step further. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Somehow, some way, do those three things. Do not fall into the trap of choosing a side here. I find fault with both. I find justification for defense on both sides, but not in the way that it's occurring now. It's evil. Just downright plain evil. I'm going to take a little break here. You know, this morning, I bought some coffee here. Oh, I don't know, different places over the last couple of weeks. I mean, coffee grounds for the house. And they're all rancid. Every single one of them that I bought. And it didn't matter what store I went to, what type of coffee it was, they were all rancid. I don't know whether they've had this stuff warehoused away somewhere and now they're trying to sell it to get rid of it, but it was bad. So I had to go out this morning and I went and got fresh coffee, and it was okay for a Maverick. It's a little convenience store here in the West. And it seems to be okay. And then I went down to a local grocery store that has whole beans and tried some of the beans, and they seemed okay. So I ground them up, brought them and ground them up and came home, and yet I'm still tasting this little tiny, not as bad as the canned stuff, but man, I tell you, something's going on with the coffee market. I don't know what it is. Maybe one of you know. That's just a side note, okay? Israel let down their guard. I don't care what their reasoning was, that they trusted their AI computer system and all. I don't care. Any barrier that you have, and I brought this up when I did my documentary on borders, Mexican drug war, or insurgency back in 2011, which you can see on the playlists here under my documentaries and films. I mentioned then that you cannot have a barrier that you don't have eyes on. You must have eyes on in some way, shape, or form. Best to have living eyes, you know, but they were using apparently AI-controlled systems. Well, they can blame the failure on that, but it still comes down to the fact that they let it happen. There was certainly a way that they could tell that things weren't working. I've talked to people who worked with the IDF and all that. I've told you about it here, that they could even tell when a bird flew by. And now, all of a sudden, that can't happen? No. This was intentional. If you want to call it a false flag, I wouldn't go that far. I would just say that it was intentional, that they wanted this to happen, and things are spiraling out of control. And your life and the life of your loved ones, you're all in danger because of these corrupt people that run this world. Now, I'm going to say something here now. If Israel had been on the border, the place to, and out there the way they should have been, they could have stopped this attack before it ever really got going. And I'm talking about with the hang gliders coming in, with the troops coming across the border and all that stuff through the fence. They could have stopped them there. That's where you stop. When you have a home and you want to defend your home, the laws of the country in the United States, you have to be inside your house in a criminal situation. But I'm going to tell you, in a military situation, you do not want to be in your home to defend it. You want to have a perimeter far enough away from your center of habitation that you can protect it in a layered defense. Israel didn't do that. They purposely let this down and let their own people die. I blame it on the Israeli government, IDF, and, of course, Netanyahu in particular, as I talked about the other night. So Just the military aspect of this thing stinks. And now we've got this thing from the North Lebanon. We've got the situation with the Palestinians and Hamas, the West Bank, the different Muslim countries get involved. Oh my gosh, we've got Armageddon on the doorstep. Yay, Jesus is coming. Yay, you hypocrites. You hypocrite Christians. And Muslims and Jews for that matter. All of you people that want this apocalypse, you don't even know what it means. That means the reveal. That means we're finding out what you are really like, because it's a revealing. It's not destruction, except the destruction of your facades. The word Zionism is, if you speak well of it, you're okay. But even if you're a Jew, a Torah Jew, and you speak against it, you're considered anti-Semitic. Hey, the Palestinians are Semitic. The Arabs are Semitic. What's this? They only apply it to the Jews. And I've talked about this for a long time. And there are more tribes of Israel than just Judahites, if the people that are claiming to be Judahites really are. The point is, there are 11 other tribes who are also Semitic. Why are you applying it only to Jews? Well, I'm going to read you something from Isaiah. Didn't want this to be an entirely religious discussion, but I'm going to end on this because I don't see anybody paying attention to this. I have questions about the Bible. You know that. I talked about it the other night. However, I have a lot of respect, as I said, from about Genesis, the first half of the book of Genesis, basically. I have a lot of respect for Isaiah. I have a lot of respect for Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, the major prophets, and some of the minor prophets as well. Malachi is an example. You've heard me talk about that before. Well, gee, Roy, if all these Israelites and Jews were tainted with all this error, why do you do that? That's why I search the letters. That's why I check the Tarikon of the letters in the words to see what the translation is. And by and large, it's usually translated in such a way that you miss the real point if you don't look further. There were two things that the rabbis of old, and even today some do, mostly the Hasidic Jews, say have to happen in the course of events before the next great Messiah event. Okay, they don't believe in Jesus, of course, as being any kind of Messiah, but they forget that they've had three Messiahs: the Messiah of Aaron, the Messiah of Joseph, and the Messiah of David. Or Judah. They confuse those just like everybody else does. And I don't know if it's on purpose or not. They should know better. But regardless, two things are supposed to happen, major things that are supposed to happen before Messiah comes the next time, however you view it. I can't talk about one of them because you'll turn your ears off. You won't listen to it anymore. But one of the things that's supposed to happen is that as he appears, he's going to explain not only the meaning of the letters. Now, I'm not pointing at me now, okay? I'm saying that the Spirit of God is giving us, because there are other people that do what I do. The Spirit of God is coming on a lot of people, and they're starting to see these deeper truths, these codes that can't be broken if you look deep enough. So what they say is that the Spirit of Messiah, let's put it that way, will come upon people, and they will start seeing the meaning of the letters in the words, understand those, and even what the spaces between the letters mean. Do you hear anybody talking like that? I want you to go to Isaiah 33, and I forgot my glasses. When I came out, I forgot them. So those of you who want to follow me, I'm going to use the King James Version. That's okay for this. Go to Isaiah 33 and let's read something. All these people that have a problem with us, with anyone complaining about the political movement of Zionism in whatever form, we get attacked for that, right? We're called anti-Semitic, which is entirely untrue. How can you be a Jew, be against Zionism, and be anti-Semitic? But they do that, right? All right. I could get thrown off for saying some of these things, but you know, we got to speak up every once in a while, regardless. So I'm in Isaiah 33. Okay? And basically, Isaiah 33 is talking about the conditions in the latter days. Now, some people would say, well, that's preterism. It all happened in the first century with the Roman destruction of Jerusalem. Okay, I'll give you that, because some of the same things that we see today in the people are happening then. Were happening then. I was going to bring up some of the things that happened. For instance, we're very keen today on talking about terrorists. Did you know there were Jewish terrorists amongst the early Christians who were called Christians, the Messianics? They were called Sicarii, and it's all in my Eisenman series, all in my religion series, and all in my book, The Crimson Thread. There were Christian, Jewish, who had converted to Christianity. We'll just put it that way. It wasn't quite like that. But Christians who were Sicarii. They were Jewish Messianists, the very bedrock of Christianity. And they were doing things they shouldn't have done. One of which was, if they found a Roman, civilian or soldier, or any foreigner talking about Torah, and it was a male, they would forcibly circumcise them or kill them. What are the Muslims doing today? What are the Jews doing today? Especially today. What are the Christians doing today? Okay, let's go to Isaiah 33, then I'll end this. Chapter 33 is talking about these end times. It's talking about wickedness will precede the time of the return of the Messiah, or of the coming of the Messiah in Isaiah's viewpoint. Listen to what this says. You all got your ears on? I hope you got your eyes on the page. Let's read it. We're going to go to verse 10. We're going to start with verse 10. I want you to read the whole chapter, but I'm just going, because of my battery time, I've got to cut this short. I'm going to start at verse 10, but read the whole chapter and pay very close attention to what it says, especially you all that consider anti-Zionism to be anti-Semitic, okay? Verse 10. Now will I rise, saith the Lord. Now will I be exalted. Now will I lift up myself. Ye shall conceive chaff. Who's he talking to here? Figure that out. Ye shall bring forth stubble. Your breath as fire shall devour you. And the people shall be as the burnings of lime. As thorns cut up shall they be burned in the fire. What are we seeing? Especially in their minds. This jumping on one bandwagon or the other to prove their political, I guess for lack of a better term, who they're loyal to. Listen to this. Now we're in verse 13. This is where it gets important. Hear, ye that are far off, what I have done, and ye that are near, acknowledge my might. Here we go. The sinners in Zion are afraid. Fearfulness hath surprised the hypocrites, the Zionists. Who among us shall dwell with the devouring fire? That's not hell. That means in God's presence, because the divine presence will consume you if he doesn't support you like he did Moses in the story. Who among us shall dwell with everlasting burnings? Same thing. Hell isn't hot, it's cold. It's devoid of the Spirit of God. It's still there, but it's very, very low, kind of like it is here, even worse. And this is what Isaiah says about these sinners in Zion. He that walketh righteously, these are the people that will be able to live in everlasting burnings and will be able to stand before the devouring fire. And you tell me who these people are now, whether they're pushing for the Jews to do what they're doing, the Zionists, the Israelis, or even the Muslims, or the Christians backing one way or the other. He that walketh righteously and speaketh uprightly. He that despiseth the gain of oppressions, stealing other people's lands, saying it's yours, that God gave it to you as a justification, that shaketh his hands from the holding of bribes. And this is the important one as far as this war mongering that's going on right now. And saying, yeah, it's okay to kill all these civilians because, they support one group or another for whatever reason. Maybe they're desperate. Maybe they've just had enough and they don't know what else to do. I'm not saying it's right, but we're not applying righteousness to what's going on. Now listen to this. So I read, who walketh righteously and speaketh uprightly? He that despiseth the gain of oppressions, that shaketh his hands from the holding of bribes, and that stoppeth his ears from hearing of blood, and shutteth his eyes from seeing evil. He shall dwell on high. His place of shall be the munitions of rocks. Bread shall be given him, his water shall be sure. Who's calling out these people on all sides for the evil that they're doing? You shouldn't be jumping on one side or another. You notice I've been calling out both of them. And all the different appendages, including Biden and the Congress and all these other people, they're all guilty of not abiding this. None of them are righteous. There are none righteous in there. And they're talking about taking vengeance. What does the Lord say? Vengeance is mine. I'm not saying you can't defend yourself. Even countries should defend themselves. But when you purposely do this to destroy a people, whether it's the air trying to destroy these people that are called Jews as a whole group, or vice versa, the Israelis trying to destroy all the Arabs, all the Palestinians, whichever way it goes. If you talk about that and you push it and you glorify it, you are not stopping your ears from the hearing of blood or shutting your eyes from seeing evil. You are contributing to the evil, and you are promoting the hearing of blood. Isaiah 33, read the whole chapter. So you Zionists out there, because we point out, and I'm talking about even these Jewish rabbis that I've talked about before, because they're kind of waffling right now. A couple that I put up on Twitter or not, like I was saying, some of these, the at-Torah Jews, for instance, those rabbis seem to have their stuff together. They understand this, and they're not willing to go there. They're not going to hear of the hearing of blood or evil. They're just not going to take part of it. And as a result of that, they're called anti-Semites and leftist extremists because they won't support Israel and what it's doing. Oh my gosh. The lies and the deceptions. Okay. I can't see the chat. It's too bright out here, and it's too small. I think it was last night or the night before when I did that live stream, Tuesday night. I was saying, is the live stream coming up on the right? I meant the chat. It used to be that the chat would come up on the right or left side, and I could even read it. But now they've included it in and it may be the settings that I have, but the chat is coming up, and I can't even read it because of the way it comes up on the screen. It's all across the screen now. Maybe I can fix it later, but I haven't figured out how to do that. I hope you understand where I'm coming from today. Nobody is stopping their ears from the hearing of blood, at least not the ones that are taking these sides. And I'd like to name some of these people, and I probably should. I did the other day, but I won't do that today. But you should know who they are. If they're pushing for either it's okay to kill civilians because they did it, if they say that, it's okay to target civilians because the other side did it, you know they're evil. They have evil intents in their hearts and their mind. They don't have the Spirit of God in their heart and mind. They don't have the law of God written in their heart and mind. The combatants, the real combatants, should have been stopped on October 7th. And they could have been, but they weren't. They were allowed, rather, to do that. So Israel didn't protect itself out from its house. They let them in, just like we're letting people in here in the United States, and they've let people they shouldn't have in Europe and all those other places under the guise of being refugees. If you don't protect your own family in their house, you're worse than an infidel. So Biden and all these ilk that are doing what they're doing, Israel, well, you say, well, Roy, then they should keep Palestinians out of Israel. That's not what I'm saying. You have to understand the history of what's happened here and why there's this contention between the two. And under the current situation, whether anybody likes it or not, Israel's caused its own problem because of the way they've treated people. And yet, we, so many Christians in particular, or certain Jews or people that are associated with different organizations, oh, Israel, we need to protect Israel. Well, Israel didn't even protect Israel. You're not going to solve this problem by calling on vengeance on unarmed men and innocent women and children. You will fall to the sword yourself. I'm not going to go into it any deeper than that. I talked about the Native American reservations that the government, the United States government did, and how we're seeing that now with Gaza and the West Bank, principally Gaza. It's evil. And you wonder why God separated the nations, according to the story, at the Tower of Babel. We're not supposed to intermingle like these world rulers want us to take away our cultural identities. God created us each after our own kind. We're supposed to not hold against somebody else's culture. We should enjoy ours, be appreciative of it, and then go watch how other cultures are. It used to be like it was 30 years ago or so, right? You could travel to another country. You're an American, say, and you travel to another country, say in Asia, and you enjoy their culture as a visit. But you don't get in there and try to take it over. You hear about this all the time. Californians, they wanted a liberal government. They screwed up their state, right? Well, then they're not happy because they're paying too many taxes. They got all these people taking their money. They got all these people coming in and all that. So they say, we got to get out of here. After they create the problem, then they go where? Oh, I don't know, say Nevada, Utah, Texas. And then they screw up their place because they're not of the local culture. They should go in and assimilate to that culture. But oh no, you're supposed to bow to the liberals. Now, the scriptures do say that when a foreigner comes into your land, you treat him well. But you're not required to bow down to them and submit your culture to theirs. Everything after its own kind. God loves variety. I'm going to use that word because diversity has such a bad connotation. God loves variety. Look at this tree behind me. The grass on the ground. The color of the leaves from one tree to another. One mountain doesn't look the same as the other. Every star differs from another star. That's not bad, that's good. The thing is you can't hold yourself as something superior just because you're different. Okay, I preached enough. I hope you get the point of what I'm saying, especially in Isaiah. You sinners in Zion. There's nothing wrong with calling somebody out for evil. If they're Jew, tough luck. They're a bad Jew. That's not anti-Semitic. If they're a bad Catholic, that's too bad. You're not anti-Catholic for showing that they're bad. They're evil. You get my drift. They tried to change the language and tried to make it so you cannot defend yourself. And so that they can take advantage with the banking system and all this other stuff to steal from everybody in the world and then destroy mankind. That's what this is about. Go say a prayer today. Ask God, if you don't understand what I'm saying, you go ask God today to open up your heart and your mind, to write his law upon your heart and mind. As it said in Zechariah, on the menorah that I showed you the other night that stands in the Knesset that they totally ignore? Not by force, not by power, but by my Spirit. Y'all take care.